what part of the car did you work on, and what did you learn in those 8 months that were really valuable?
So I worked on the supercomputer side of things, and we were working on manufacturing the supercomputer. So I did a lot of testing and management. And with management, the most important thing is to have good planning, good organization, and then clear communication of your plan. Even if you have a plan, if you don't communicate it clearly in some form, with Tesla we had Jira tickets and such like that. This level of communication, having some sort of standardized method is key to fast-paced work.
Are you learning AI? So, hello guys. Today we have 𝐂𝐓𝐇, a LinkedIn connection, and a former engineer at Tesla.
Yeah, I am.
How are you, brother?
Pretty good. I've been back for 4 months now from California, and I gotta say, I enjoy living with my parents again.
How was life back in California?
So life back in California, I was living with 6 other roommates. We called it the Tesla 6 household. And boy, the adventures that we had were some of the most legendary moments. We had the good old passing out on the street by the car that, we ticked off all the checklists of the California dream. It was a wonderful summer, I gotta say.
I am very excited to hear all about that. But initially, just tell us about your full journey that has taken you here so far.
Yeah, so my name is Kai, and I grew up in Japan actually till 2011. And so my early childhood was all about studying math. And since I was doing both English school homeschooling and Japanese school in elementary, basically math was like my fundamental top character. And I just took that all the way to university, ended up doing engineering at Simon Fraser University. From there, I joined a team called Team Phantom, which is a Formula SAE electric vehicle team. And I failed upwards, kept trying, kept going at it until I eventually got to the team principal position and got an opportunity to check out a workshop from Tesla for the Formula SAE. And from there, I got an interview and got that internship. And here we are back from that internship. And that's kind of just the journey of how I got to this point.
It's interesting because I go to SFU as well. I'm in my 4th year of computer science.
Oh, nice.
And Team Phantom reached out to me. They're like, we need a software engineer and stuff. But I was already committed to endeavour.
Oh, cool.
Was the software coordinator there.
Cool. That's nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of too much on my plate.
On the comp side of things, are you enjoying the programming or admin side more? Because I heard you just did at endeavour, you were a coordinator.
I used to enjoy programming more, but now I do admin. I have my own software startup too, so
wow,
just kind of like just managing and just quality control, stuff like that.
That's very cool. Yeah, I would say that once you get to the admin side of things, you can really start to see like where you can grow and take this on your own rather than just being a engineer as part of the gear. You can actually see yourself being atop of that and like managing the coworkers and whatever your organization to actually work more efficiently than just doing what you're told. And I find that freedom to be quite what's the word I'm looking for? Quite alluring.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I recommend that to everyone. But so you did 4 months at Tesla.
8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
I'm reading Elon Musk's book right now as we speak.
Nice.
How was it out there?
I would say that, we'll just take this into perspective. In Canada, there are 37 million people. In California state alone, there is more than that. So it's just the sheer opportunistic difference is insane. And then on top of that, I find that people are just generally more engaging in America. They seem to enjoy talking to other people. Whereas here, it's like you can reach out to people and they'll be friendly back, but no one's ever really outcoming and engaging to you. There's no weirdos, as you would call it. There's a lot of them in America, on both spectrums, but the good ones are just really fun, and there's a lot of good ones in America. So I gotta say, in terms of people, both are friendly. Just one side is just more outgoing And that just goes to show with that 37 million sheer difference. It's just a scale. It's just a difference in scale, really.
So what team were you exactly, and how would you say the culture was at Tesla?
Now I'm gonna say, no, I'm kidding. There was no, there was an NDA, but I should be able to talk about this. I was on the, what is it called? The dojo team, and I was part of the manufacturing side of things. So I was working on creating these tools that our techs can use to get the job done easier, as well as managing the line and making sure that we have all the things to stay on track. Yeah. It was a lot of work. One of the crazy stories that we had was just, I can't say the number, but I was just working way too much, and they were like, "Hey, you gotta cut back on the hours because you are too good, and you gotta enjoy the life of California." So I did that, and making sure to have a work-life balance is important because life isn't all about your job and your career.
You sometimes forget that?
Yeah, I mean, the pursuit of your purpose in itself enslaves us to find something, and when we find something, we, believe it to the X extent and continue after it. And if we don't get it, then, this gap in expectation versus reality can set a lot of people into a, depressed state. So I'm sure that making sure you keep that in mind, and, while pursuing something, you don't feel like you're giving up everything for it. You got to make sure that you keep life balanced, because if you don't keep life balanced, then, like,
you may tip over.
Yeah.
So how's the culture there?
The culture, it actually is quite team dependent. So a lot of people will say that in the tech industry it's team dependent, but with Tesla it's it varies here and there depending on which team you're a part of. But overall, the culture is focused on work, and all the people there are actually excited to be there, excited to work there. So that alone creates this cultural difference that, gets you a little bit more engaged in your work and makes you want to work that extra hour or a couple extra hours to get your project a little bit done a little bit faster, and, keep that pace up, because you're trying to make sure that everyone else is able to constantly output.
Yeah, the fascinating aspect that you mentioned, everybody's excited to be there, is so important.
Oh yeah. I think that's one of the key successes of Tesla, is with this pride to work there. I don't know if Elon spurred that or if it was just the culture of Tesla, but getting that inspiration to have my God, I get to work here every single day, and then having that rotation, because Tesla's a very fast pace, so you have a lot of rotations, even with the senior engineers and the managers. So you see a lot of culture shift, but this constant output doesn't change, even when you have so many people coming and going.
I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for the amount of support you guys are giving this podcast. None of this would be possible without you guys. And if you guys like the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and it's completely free for you guys. If you want to support this podcast directly, please check out the Patreon link down below. It will help me directly, and it will help me bring higher levels of guests and improve the studio and really deliver the best content. And also over there, we have some unreleased content, podcast. I've interviewed 2 people at the same time, and there's more content there with people from Toronto that I cannot be in person with. I do over the Zoom, and all the content's there. So please make sure to check it out. And thank you guys for watching. Did you see Elon?
I did not, unfortunately, see Elon. My roommate was working closely with him on the Optimus side of things, but I unfortunately was on the one building off of him. So he would always be visiting the other side, but we would not be part of it.
So you had 6 roommates all within Tesla. So
Yeah.
Tesla, facilitated that for you guys.
So we figured out our, housing on our own, really. There's a Discord and LinkedIn that you can look out to find roommates who are also working at Tesla or just in the Bay Area. and you can look on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace to find a place to live. But Tesla didn't necessarily facilitate the 6 people. It just kind of was a coincidence. One of our roommates actually just messaged like a whole bunch of other Tesla interns and like got like 5 of us together to get that house.
That's very interesting. The Discord and those LinkedIn group chats that kind of bring people together.
Absolutely. Without that, I would not have found roommates and it would have been a very different story because I would have been living alone most likely in a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment, and I would have just been going to work and home and work to home. But having roommates made it so that it was like work, and when I got home, it was all about like partying with my friends. So
that's fun.
Yeah, and it was truly a difference in experience, and it was just one coincidence, one fateful message that changed the course of my experience.
Life is always like that. Those small things can make drastic differences in a long enough time span.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think as well. And you can't mistake coincidence for fate. So you really have to appreciate the coincidences that you get, because they aren't just some kind of string that guided you there. It was purely a coincidence that happened. So you have to really appreciate when those things happen, because it was the luck of the draw, as they say.
Exactly. So the Bay Area, what did you think of it as a whole?
Oh my God. The Bay Area as like a place to live is insane. Think about this. Sunny all year round and multiple biomes within like a 3-hour drive. You got desert, ocean, mountain, forest, you name it, you have it. Everything in this I don't know how big California is, but everything in that one state. I don't know what else is there. I don't think there's a better place on earth simply for like that like richness of nature.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're really selling it.
Yeah, I do love California. I've only been there for 8 months, but like the people, the culture, the food, and I had a car there. So some people who don't have cars there will have a vastly different experience because of the transit system, much worse compared to Vancouver. So Vancouver has public transit. Appreciate what you have in Vancouver, because it isn't as amazing everywhere else. And you might think it's bad in Vancouver, but trust me, it can be a lot worse.
That's true. So now that you have experienced the Vancouver life and the kind of the California lifestyle, what do you have in mind in the future? Do you want to go back there and live there, really?
Yeah, I definitely want to live there, but the state of living is quite expensive, even here, really. And so finding something that lets me freely travel around the world, and live wherever I want is the ideal, because being stuck in one place will get boring eventually. And so maybe settling down in Canada is a little bit better, because America, there's just too many uncertainties. But for the mid-30s, where I'm working in my career, California would be an amazing place to live and grow.
Did you have In-N-Out?
Oh, In-N-Out was a weekly venture for our household. We would take the van and get a whole crew of people and drive through and just have a blast every time we went. In-N-Out is definitely my favorite chain. And I saw one pop up in Langley, but it was only a pop-up for like 1 week when I got back. But you just... Where's the In-N-Out here,
I agree.
Unfortunately, I think because of their shipment procedures, they wouldn't get that fresh quality French fries. So, can't get that In-N-Out here. But if you do go to California, then number one place to go. Quadruple burger. You have to get the quad burger.
Okay, sounds good. I'll note that.
Yeah. 4 patties, 4 cheeses, all in one. Oh my God, it's just obesity.
Okay, this is not an ad as well. Let's talk about your work, the infrastructure. So what part of the car did you work on, and what did you learn in those 8 months that were really valuable?
So I worked on the supercomputer side of things, and we were working on manufacturing the supercomputer. So I did a lot of testing and management. And with management, the most important thing is to have good planning, good organization, and then clear communication of your plan. Because even if you have a plan, if you don't communicate it clearly in some form, with Tesla, we had Jira tickets and such like that. But this communication, this level of communication, having some sort of standardized method is key to fast-paced work and making sure that everything kind of comes together accordingly.
What is this standardized plan that you're talking about? Is it unique to Tesla, or is it?
With Tesla, we just have a standardized method of communication called the Jira tickets, where you can like list up your to-do list and have other people's to-do lists on the same like website, so you can see what things are getting done and what needs to be picked up or sped up to get the project as a whole finished on time. And so being able to like see this clearly is important, and that's kind of just a thing they have set up for themselves. But just clear communication is a pretty standard across any place. I'm sure you understand with managing your startup.
Yes, 100%. So do you think you would prefer that method or any other method you've seen in the industry? What stood out to it?
I think that it was nice because everyone was familiar with it. And so the fact that everyone was able to kind of get on board with it made sure that there was no gaps in knowledge between like people, because all the information was just in one place. And so that was the clear difference I found, because, if you're not able to communicate what you're specifically doing for the project and other people aren't able to support where you're lacking, then you're not able to finish in a timely manner. And with Elon and Tesla, it's all about urgency and getting it done as fast as you can. It's not necessarily about getting it done correctly the first time. It's about getting it done getting it done fast and then picking up on your failures.
Do you like that approach?
I love that approach. I think it's a very important approach because a lot of people, while planning is important, will stay in the planning phase or will be at 90% completion of their projects and not push it through just because of their fear for failure. And so that prevents, that delays things. And those delays stack. With more people you have, the more delays there are, the more it stacks. And so if you can reduce that as much as you can with this fail fast mentality, then you can pick up your pace quite much more competitive than the other companies.
Exactly. Just have a prototype out, test it. If it fails, then you know how to make it better. But if you're just constantly thinking about it for that prototype to come out maybe a year later, losing so much time.
Exactly. And time is of the essence.
Especially in a company that Elon owns, where his whole mission is urgency and we need to get to Mars and the world needs to electric cars and all of that.
Exactly.
What is your favorite endeavor that Elon's doing? Is it Tesla or is it one of his other companies?
Well, actually, Starlink is one of my top, not necessarily to work there, but I really appreciate what Starlink is trying to do, because with the whole world becoming more and more dependent on the internet, having good internet like worldwide is going to be quite nice. And I think it's a very what's that word I'm looking for? Man, I'm always looking for words and I can never find them. But on top of that, I think Neuralink is very exciting, and I actually hope to work there eventually as a AI neural interface engineer.
Are you learning AI? Are you proficient?
So I'm doing AI online right now because SFU's courses are not available at this time. And so I'm doing some online courses while doing the engineering degree. Yeah.
Would you get a Neuralink chip into your brain?
So Neuralink chip, I would honestly, but I would have to make sure that it's like safe and like I would not have to take it out, because if I had to take it out, and that would just be awful. I think I would die in the procedure of taking it out.
Because the thing is, it puts it in and your skin eventually wraps around it, so it's a part of your head.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the most pressing part of the Neuralink chip is electrodes, because those get integrated with your brain, right? So like the threads go inside your brain, whether they're like laying on top or, they're somehow taken deep into the part of your brains that aren't being able to scan right now. The idea is that we want to get as much information as possible from the neural activity, and the best way is to just like be right next to it. I love this quote from Elon where he says that you can't really tell what's going on inside a house without going inside the house, right? You can't see what's happening from outside the walls, right? So that's kind of like the approach that Neuralink is doing. There is a different company called Precision that's trying something else, and is a pretty big competitor to Neuralink, I believe. But we'll have to see what the future has in store for those two companies.
Whoa, interesting. I've never heard of Precision. So what are they doing?
Precision is actually the company that is taking a bit less of an intrusive approach in that they don't drill a hole into your skull, and it's more of a slit, and they pass this tech into that slit, and it works similar to your Apple Watch in how it detects your beats and oxygen levels. You take that scan from inside the wall now of the brain to get that real-time spatial and time precise measurements. It's I don't know which one is better. I think in terms of like invasiveness, the Precision is better, and in terms of like the brain, since it's a living organism, it's gonna change, right? Since it's biological, and those changes that happen in the brain, because we know that the brain is neuroplastic, so the neurons can be created, destroyed, and such force. So that is that's where I'm concerned about Neuralink, is because how it adapts to that neuroplasticity of the brain, whereas Precision is only laying on the surface of the brain, so it's not really going inside, so it shouldn't have too big of a impact on that. So that's where I see those two companies having the biggest competition there.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I feel like Neuralink's approach could be to only tackle those neurons that are permanently there and are not being changed.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that might be a great idea.
Yeah, I personally, if I had to choose, I would go Neuralink because Elon Musk is the head, and as long as he is, I'm sure he will do fantastic with it.
Interesting. A lot of faith in Elon Musk there.
Yeah. Do you not look up to him?
I do in fact. But you always got to have a pinch of salt with everything. Can't take everything for face value on both sides of the spectrum of the Elon debate. So yeah.
100%. So we started before starting about like, wow, like there's so many stories, parties with the friends. Can you tell us some good times that you've had out there?
Okay, so I went all the way to San Diego, to LA, to Joshua Tree, which is right beside LA. And then on my way back, I did a whole road trip of the West Coast from California to the Grand Canyon, up to Yellowstone, and then back home. So like I got to have the dream life, and I posted it all on my Instagram page, Life of Kai Live, so you can go ahead and check it out there if you want to see what that was all about.
Awesome. What's your most valuable lesson across your different engineering roles?
Ooh, my most valuable lesson. As an engineer, it's got to be the fail fast mentality. I believe that is the number one approach, and the critical difference between people who get things done and people who don't. That's just how I see it. But from a non-engineering perspective, or from a different perspective, I got to go back to the planning and communication. So it's always two sides of the same coin. You're balancing these two different things of making sure that you're set up correctly, you're organized, and everything is going to go according to plan, but then also just executing on the plan and not holding out until just not procrastinating, basically. It's something that I struggle with. I'm not gonna lie. It's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. And discipline, waking up, making sure you have a consistent schedule. These things help, and it's all about reducing the modes of failure and increasing your chances of success.
It was beautifully said.
Thanks. Thank you.
So you were born in Japan. Let's go back to the original stories.
Funnily enough, I'm actually born right here in Surrey, Canada. Surrey Memorial Hospital is my birthplace, but I flew back to Japan when I was about 2, and I grew up there until 2011, like I said, yeah.
Can you tell us about your time in Japan? How is it different from here?
Well, I would say that as a kid, it's probably not that much different. But I felt a lot safer. And I think that my parents felt a lot safer for my safety as well. So I would be able to, go from school and back on my own as like a grade as an elementary student, But here I found that it was skepticism, right? There's a lot of skepticism here. And so people are worried, and the idea that, stranger danger kind of feeds into your mentality, and you become a little bit more scared of people. And so I think that is a pretty stark difference in that, with this friendliness of, sorry, I'm getting lost here, but yeah, I would say that's probably my biggest difference.
That's very interesting. So in Japan, I guess the culture is that, everyone's friends. Mm-hmm. So that's how they, I guess, portray it. But here, you're saying that in North America, there's this notion that stranger danger, and it kind of feeds into the mentalities a bit. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I picked something a little off topic there, but it's more so. It's more so the sense of community, I guess. There is a stronger sense of community in Japan. And I think it's also seen in America, this sense of patriotism of your country first. With America, it's more of the country you came from first, and then you're a Canadian second. Like when you're asked, if you're where you're from, like that question, you get the different answers. Right. Whereas if you're in America or Japan, Japanese American, that sense of self, I think, has to do with community, and then the sense of feeling safe in your community.
Community is a topic that we extensively talk about. There's many episodes about it. But
yeah, that's great. That's great, because it's so important to find your community. Even it's not like you can't find the community here. It's just a bit more difficult. And so being able to find a community is, I think, of the most important thing for everyone, is because, it's more painful to be alone than to be alive alone.
Well said. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think community is very important. And it's unfortunate that North America doesn't indulge and promote the sense of community. And it's kind of like individualism in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Agreed. You just look at the last name difference in Japan, where you have your last name first before your first name. So you go 𝐎𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐑, and so it's your family first, then your individual. Whereas in the West, it's your individual name first, and then your family name.
That's very interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. So even just like those small differences, from young ages, from cultural differences, just shape who we are. And we are our environments, as they say.
Exactly. What are some of the traditions that you have brought from the Japanese culture?
I would say honor and respect. No, but those are fundamentals, and I think that's fundamental in every culture. But specifically from Japan, maybe there's a greater level of that respect, for the elders, and honor for knowledge. But culturally, I gotta say, like, anime, maybe. Anime is one of my big cultures. And the food is a big thing. I am I love Japanese food so much. But at the same time, I love all food. You know, like Indian food, American food, Italian food.
You name it.
You name it, I'll eat it. We do mukbangs on our channel as well because can't get enough of that, you know. Yep.
So anime, what's your favorite anime film, series, or character?
Okay, well, so my take is that if you're ready to give up on every single other show, watch One Piece. That's when you're ready to watch One Piece. And then you can commit, to the 1,000 episodes because you have no other show to watch. You only have One Piece. But until then, there's a lot of great animes. And I prefer the adventure comedy ones, so One Piece just hits the spot for me. And with 1,000 episodes, I really don't need anything else. So I'll say I'm a holy reader of the One Piece Bible. Yeah, that's for sure.
Bible.
Thank you, Goda.
I've only read The Notebook.
Yeah.
I've seen The Notebook. Have you seen it?
The Notebook.
Yeah, it's The Notebook.
Death Note. Death Note, of course.
Yeah.
It's a great one. It's
an entry kind of.
It's an entry, and I've been meaning to get my friend into it because, boy, those first 35 or 25 episodes, banger. The next 12, they're still pretty good, but it's all about that L versus Light battle, and that was peak anime indeed.
Yeah. What's your craziest story about working at Tesla? Was there any crazy stories on the factory line or anything in that sense?
I gotta say, my craziest story is probably the one where me and my roommates end up working like super late because we just had to get a project done back in like mid-June or something. And so we end up like staying, I'm not going to say until what time because we got in trouble for staying until that time. But we stayed like way too late and they're like, hey, be better. And we're like, we tried our hardest, but we just had to get this done. And they're like, all right, just don't do it next time, basically. But we still put in the hours after. We put in the work, we put in the hours, all about the grind. And the grind don't stop, baby.
Let's go.
Yep.
Where do you get that mentality that the grind don't stop and the mentality that you've showcased in the past 30 minutes?
That's an interesting one. I think that's gotta be just from my childhood. Being a middle child, being second born to a bigger brother who's like cracked at everything made me want to be just as good. And I had to put in the time to be just as good because he got it like, off the bat. But I would need to practice. And practice is part of the grind. Practice is what makes the grind. Practice is the grind. You gotta, what is your practice? That's what you gotta ask, and once you can find a purpose that you can practice, then you found your meaning of life and you can pursue it.
Tell me about your brother. You praised him very low key.
My brother is currently graduated from Crim at KPU, and he is in charge of training at the Surrey Center for hockey, and he does a lot of the lessons and events. And there's also one other thing like called power play or something where kids get to come in and just scrimmage with other kids. And so he teaches hockey, and growing up, me and my whole family played hockey. So, he would just go in, had this next level sense of the game that I just couldn't grasp. But, with what I could grasp, I, grabbed what I could and dug myself out of the, gutters and came out looking like this.
Not bad.
Yeah. It's the pain has forged us into what we are, that your pain makes you who you are. Your coincidences make you who you are.
Bro, you just dropping droplets of wisdom.
Thank you. I yap. I yap for thought.
No, it's great. I just thought about because Elon Musk, he indulged in video games.
Oh yeah? Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. I saw him playing was it Dota or World of Warcraft, something like that, for like a mega stream or something with a Starlink, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. I wish I could take a Starlink and like take my van and travel while gaming. Oh, that would be just the peak life right there.
Yeah, and in one of them, he's I think in the top 20 in the world. Something very ridiculous.
No way, really?
Yeah,
That's
I'll
impressive.
fact check, put a link down. But why is it that gaming kind of matches with the success, like kind of strategy you practice in the game and then you bring it to real life? Do you see that correlation or no?
I did not until you just pointed it out, and I can see exactly why. It's just puzzle. It's just puzzle and pattern matching. It's puzzle solving and pattern matching. And in engineering, that's like critical. Pattern matching, puzzle solving is what engineers do. So I think there is a key correlation in gaming. And I mean, take for example chess, right? Chess is a very sophisticated game in which if you don't know the rules and you don't know the moves to make, you're kind of screwed. But that comes with experience. But I do believe that there is a very big level of pattern solving that kids, and as you grow up, you constantly do, and you're constantly, engaging your brain. So yeah, I do see a correlation there. Thanks for pointing that out. It's always like, oh, gaming is bad, but now that I see that, I'm like, oh, gaming is great. Yeah.
I don't know about great. I personally have practiced chess for 7 years.
Wow.
And I think now that I'm reading Elon Musk's book, he talks about how he kind of relaxes with strategy games, and sometimes he binges it till 5 a.m. after meetings. And it's very interesting to me how these correlate, and how, because in games, in strategy games per se, you have to play a certain way, and it shows, like, for example, with him, he puts all of his chips back onto the table. And we can see that in 2008, where both SpaceX and Tesla almost went bankrupt. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the history of his companies.
Yeah. I'm interested on this, putting his chips back on his table. Is that his play style as well, where he, like, if it's like poker, he would put all his chips back on after a big play?
Definitely, yeah. There's stories that he would put his chips, lose it, buy in again, put his chips, like 5-6 times. He would keep losing, and then after a while, when he won, he just left. He was like, okay, I won, I left. But he was down. But
that's crazy. That's just that big baller mentality right there. That's just keep playing till you lose and you can't lose. Or keep playing till you win and you can't lose.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just enormous amounts of risk that he takes at all times, and that's just his norm, which is not made for everyone, and I think he's very unique in that sense.
Well, this comes back to practice. This man has practiced taking on a lot of risk, and so he has the balls to come back and do it again and again and again. I think I've seen a lot of YouTubers and podcasts talk about risk, and I gotta agree, learning to manage risk is one of the key successes you can have in life. Being comfortable with risk is immensely important in great success.
Wow, beautiful. What do you think about autonomous vehicles?
Oh, I believe they're the future. They are hands down the safest way to transport, and I am ready for me to just nap while I get my car driving me to Vancouver or wherever it is. And if you really take it statistically, there was a stat from the new Waymo that California has been pumping out into San Fran City, where it's fully autonomous taxi vehicles, and that Waymo has been safer than city drivers in San Francisco. They've had less accidents.
So they're fully autonomous currently?
Fully autonomous in 2024. The stat was over the year of 2024, and they had less crashes. So, like, well-maintained, properly security, there's no risk of hackers and such like that. Autonomous vehicles are safer than humans. If everyone's a part of the system, flow of traffic becomes optimized. There would be no need for traffic lights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Elon was saying that the airbag system is so sophisticated that eventually we wouldn't even need seat belts.
Really?
Yeah, and airbags would just catch us. Even if somebody's like leg is on the dashboard, the airbag is so good that it would fully secure us.
Damn, that's the new Teslas, or just like all vehicles recently.
He had a speech about it, but I'm not sure it will be incorporated probably in a few years, next few years.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know that one.
Yeah, but do you think, I feel like Tesla will still be on top because I'm hearing Waymo is rolled it out,
but Waymo is using map data, so they need to study it first before they can actually launch it, which is why right now they're only in San Fran City, and I think maybe a few other cities, but like Teslas, you see them everywhere, and you can have FDA anywhere as long as you pay for it. So they are technically on top, and I think they will stay on top as long as China doesn't get in here.
God damn.
No, because the China market is also pretty fast coming as well, and I don't know how they're able to get it out so fast, but they are, and I don't know if they're as good as Tesla. I don't think they are. I gotta say, I don't think they are, but they are much cheaper. So we'll have to see how that plays out as well.
I saw a video that said United States has been the biggest kid in the block for like 100 years. And then we have a kid that's 3 times the size, China, coming up. And I don't think the world it's going to be pretty when these two clash.
Well, you gotta think about before America, there was like other kids on the block. So, there's always been another kid on the block, and there always will be a new kid on the block. So
yeah, it's history repeating itself.
Yeah. I just don't know if I don't know if there'll still be new kids, or maybe we just get rid of the whole kid system and we're like, hey, we don't need to fight any longer. Well, hopefully that's the case, but that's just peaceful,
inshallah.
Peaceful naivety.
Peaceful naivety. That's an interesting word. Yeah. What do you think about going to Mars?
Going to Mars, I love Earth. I love Earth. I'm a strong supporter of make Earth the
great again.
Home. Yeah, but in terms of human extinction, going to Mars is better. Well, you have don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's the same for planets. So in that sense, yeah, going to Mars would be better. But that's I don't know how far into the future that is. I think that's still like 100 years into the future. Colonies on Mars, but what do you think? Do you think that's near?
No, I think that's 100, probably definitely more than 50, 60 years.
So with Elon's urgency, that's why he's urgent, right? Because he wants to be able to see it happen, and he won't be alive for 50 or 60. He could die like any day. So his urgency is pretty inspiring, I gotta say.
Very inspiring, and I'm honestly worried that when he gets older and it slows down, who will keep the torch going? There's no one like him.
There is no one like him. That is so true. No one that is bold enough to do as he does, I think, because everyone is on tippy toes nowadays, and for right reason. It's good to act on tippy toes to help and be a little bit softer with people around you. Because Elon, he's scary, like in that sense, like he is not a people person, but you kind of need people like him to keep the pace.
Get things done.
Yeah, exactly. The balance for me between those two as a, boss is definitely hard. What do you find? Do you find that you enjoy being the bad guy more, or the good guy more, or do you not see it as that?
I do see it as that. I feel like being the bad guy just is much better for the business. But then I'm not wired like Elon. I do have emotions, so I do tend to find a nice balance in between, not too this way, not too that way.
Interesting. I see.
Yeah, because you truly have to be wired a certain way to act like Elon and don't care about physical emotion, other people's feelings, and just be like, you're not doing the job, you're replaced, and that's that.
Yeah. It's a cutthroat world.
It really is. So you mentioned one of your roommates worked on Optimus. Can you speak more about that?
I was actually hoping he could come out here today, but he unfortunately couldn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to drag him out, but he didn't want to come. So I'll be hanging out with him after. But yeah, he was he's at UBC right now and interned a previous year before we met up this year, and so he was manufacturing before that, then went to Optimus design, and he designed the new shin on the Optimus robot, and he went through like multiple tests, and he had run some crazy simulations to get this model up and running. So he's an engineer through and through, and I look up to him because he works out every day. He got me going to rock climbing in the gym. Oh, by the way, the rock climbing tech industry in San Francisco is so funny. There's like so many tech entrepreneurs at these climbing gyms, and everyone's just like meeting and greeting each other, and it's a great community, and I got to be a part of that thanks to this man right here.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I got to meet a lot of different people, and from different backgrounds. People who didn't even go to school and just studied online until they got a position at Google. So there are very, very many different stories out there.
Yes. So where do you stand? Do you think university is important or no?
Well, I believe it's important, but at the same time, it's not necessary. So there's a key difference in that. It's important that, there is a standardized system to learn, but it's not necessary to go through the standardized system. You can go off the books and do your own thing and still end up at the same place as these other people who went to university. One might argue that you could actually get further because you're focused solely on what you want to do. University can have a lot of distractions that, like English and these electives and such like that. I believe they're nice to have, broadens your scope a bit. So it's important to get that extra perspective. But if you're simply focused on that one thing and you know exactly what you want to do, then there's no need for university.
The natural question would be, if you could go back, would you go to university or no?
I think for the coincidences that came because of university, I would do it again. And I wouldn't do it differently, other than maybe doing a little bit better in school. I would try a little bit harder. But at the same time, I might select a different path. So I might do university still, but I might do a background in neurocomputational science, right, where you get to do that BCI stuff, because I know UBC has that program. And I didn't realize that when I first applied to SFU, and I was like, darn. But no, I appreciate what I got from SFU.
The brain is so fascinating. We could go on and on about.
I would love to go on and on about the brain. Maybe just on different podcasts or on a side note, just the two of us. But I would love to just go on and on about the brain.
Is that what most fascinates you?
Definitely. Has always fascinated me as a kid. And I think I forgot it for a time, didn't know really what I wanted to do. So engineering was kind of a basic that... For me, engineering was problem solving, and problem solving was something I liked doing. So engineering was the path. But after getting a little bit more exposed to the industry and seeing what's the future, I'm more leaning towards that brain computational interface side.
Back to the roots.
Yeah, back to the roots.
So how do you approach problem solving?
That's a good question. You gotta approach it with a really flexible mind. If you come into it with a one solution and done, the second the solution fails, you'll be stuck. And so coming in with perspective, flexibility, and knowledge is the key to problem solving. Now, how do you get that? Experience, time, university, online, GPT, whatever. But that's up to you.
Do you use ChatGPT on a regular basis?
Oh, yes. It's like I use it kind of like Google. And so I would fact check it after if I needed to. But I like the aspect of bouncing ideas off of it And so having a second mind in a sort is kind of nice, and being able to run scripts with it, or create some programs with it, has been very fun. I gotta let you know. I gotta say it's very fun. GPT is quite an amazing piece of technology. It's not AI. I would say it's not like AGI, but it's definitely like, it's like I gotta say it's like a better Google, because if you have a question about anything, the first thing that I say to someone is, did you Google it? Because if you didn't even Google it, then why am I telling you the answer? Because you should have taken the first step, taken the initiative to find the answer yourself with Google. GPT, I kind of use it in the same way, but I feel like GPT is a bit more cheat, because it'll like tell you the exact answer or a fake answer, whereas Google, you kind of have to actually search a little bit to find your answer. So I kind of prefer GPT for that sense, because it's just easier. But yeah.
What core values do you try to find when choosing friends?
Core values when choosing friends. I actually just choose all friends. Everyone's a friend until they're not. And so even if they're not, they can still be friends. And one of my favorite examples of this is, I had this person at work who was interesting, let's say, not a Tesla, but they pranked me this one time, and then I was like stunned. I was like, what the heck is this prank? Like, this is not a prank. This is not a prank. But then I was just like, you know what? Smile, nod, and say thank you. Like, show kindness when you're shown, when you feel angry. And people will reflect back what you show back. Because humans are very funny creatures. They mimic people they mimic, like babies mimic. And so if you're a baby, you're human, you keep that same trait. So you will mimic as an adult as well. And so I firmly believe that. And that's why I always opt for kindness. I have no enemies.
That's awesome. I think the answer that you said, that everyone is a friend unless it's shown otherwise, and even then, it could be. I think I will bring that with me from this podcast.
Thank you.
But I think that will come from your sense of community in the Japanese culture. That sense.
Perhaps, yeah. And maybe the idea that stranger isn't danger. Yeah.
Exactly. We need more of that.
Yeah.
So the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Let's linger on the brain a bit. What fascinating facts do you know about the human brain, and where do you think consciousness comes from?
Whoa. Deep.
Straight into the deep water.
Deep thoughts with the deep. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
So, okay, let's go step by step. Consciousness, right? Yeah. There are theories that consciousness comes from different dimensions, higher dimensions that we don't have access to, since we are stuck in the third, and there's proven to be 11 dimensions. So how can firing neurons, it's like right now with AI, we have ones and zeros that are like starting to think slowly. And I think the new trained O1 model of OpenAI was trying to copy itself to resist being shut down 5% of the time it was getting trained. So we're seeing the first signs of it. So how does that emerge from just matter?
Well, I think you got to think about the brain differently. So I don't know if consciousness could happen in robots, to be honest, but for consciousness with humans, you got to look at the brain and what it's doing. And what it's doing is it's firing all the time on all cylinders, and some paint is sticking on the walls. So if you imagine your brain as someone throwing a bucket of paint and seeing what sticks, whatever sticks is what comes out as thought. And so if you believe thought is consciousness, then it's your brain firing on all cylinders all the time, and whatever sticks on the wall, that's consciousness. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, it's interesting to to figure out where do we draw the line of what's consciousness and what's not.
Yeah, because it's like, is my thought my consciousness, or is my thought and my consciousness above my thought? Like, is my consciousness not tied to what I think, what I am? Like, is it something above me, like a soul of sorts? That gets a little bit more religious and, theoretical, but I don't know what I believe, honestly. It's a very tricky subject, because every time you think you're on the right track, you're like, you second guess yourself, and you're like, but this doesn't make any sense, because it's just such a blurry subject.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do strongly believe in that, in the way the brain processes information is simply just like your neurons are just constantly firing, like billions of neurons are being triggered, even if they're not doing anything, even if they're not creating thought, they're just like firing in there. And so the idea that whatever sticks is your thought, that I think that's kind of like my idea. Have you heard that before? Like, what, the paint on the wall example?
I actually have.
You
yeah,
have?
I actually
Okay,
have.
cool,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's interesting to me. Okay, I need a neuroscientist. It's been on my list.
Right. I think when you have that neuroscientist, you let me know, and then I'll either come out or just check out that podcast, because that would be a very fun one.
I'll let you know. You ask me some questions. So
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. I'll definitely do that.
So you worked on supercomputers or a supercomputational at Tesla.
Yep.
What do you think about quantum computers?
Oh, very cool. So quantum computing is kind of how the brain works, in the sense that, your brain is, as it's firing on all cylinders, if you think about that as a quantum chip that has zeros and ones in all possible states, that's kind of where we actually get the closest resemblance of a brain to a computer chip, and that's with quantum chips. How familiar are you with quantum chips in the quantum computing?
So I know that Google released its new one.
Oh, yeah.
It can do
Willow.
Insane. Yeah, 105, I think, qubits it has.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I don't get to the nitty-gritty mathy details, but I know they venture all possibilities at the simultaneously.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how the brain works, is that it's working on that level of firing on all cylinders, like I said. And so I'm very excited to see how quantum computing is going to change things, because it's going to change things drastically. Like, if you look at the curve of the exponential growth of technology, the next curve is coming because of quantum computing. Like, it's going to go another exponential leap because of this. And this might be the reason we have AGI, is because of the quantum ability to quantum compute. Yeah.
It's absolutely bananas.
Yeah, we're living in the most exciting times. I gotta agree. You look at history and you're like, wow, we've come so far, and we've come so far in like the past 100 years. Like the jump in progress from all of human history is such a interesting curve.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a logarithmic curve.
Yeah. Logarithmic or exponential, one of them.
Exponential, probably most likely. Thinking like inverse.
Yeah, exactly. Inverse log. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so quantum computers, robotics. I feel like robotic industry will be the next very big industry.
Robotics industry, I'm hoping, can take over work. I no longer want to work 40 hours a week. Please get rid of work. The concept of work I do not want.
Just want to have nice conversations.
Yeah, exactly. Just meet people, talk to people, enjoy life, who said work was the purpose of humans,
Hello, we'll get into that. But yeah, what do you think? If robots and AGI takes over all world's work, then what would be our purpose truly?
Well, I think that's a glory in that you actually get to ask yourself that question without having to worry about, daily living things. Now, the problem is, how do we actually get to that point? Because I think once we get to that point, we'll people will be able to find their purpose. Like, people are just simply not allowed the opportunity to ponder their purpose right now because of all the things that they have to deal with. And, you know, it's hard to deal with both at the same time because you're so focused on making sure that you can stay afloat that most people don't have the time to even think about the greater purpose or greater meaning of life. Now, is that for the better or worse? I think it's for the worse. I think people should get to think a little bit more about themselves and reflect on how they want to live, because if they're just trying to survive right now and stay afloat, is that really living? Are they really happy, you know? And what is happiness, you know? Because the constant pursuit of happiness itself is kind of a detriment to the happiness. You're always trying to be happy. You'll never be truly happy.
No, get there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know how this takeover will work, because I hope that it'll be a nice smooth transition in which, you know, we're replaced, but we don't have to worry about the replacement. And that's something that I'll let someone else figure out because I want to figure out something else, you know?
That's very interesting that you mentioned that we don't have the time to think about our purpose and we're just too busy. They keep us, you know, in this hamster wheel.
Oh, well, I don't mean they as in like the government or anything like that. I think it's just society is the way it is, and that's just how it is. And I'm hoping that this new revolution can change that. In like the revolution of robotics.
Oh, right.
the revolution.
Everybody.
That would be hilarious. The Canadian Revolution.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
So, if you could paint me a picture, how would you see the ideal world look like?
The ideal world, eh? Have you ever seen that Pokemon movie? The Pokemon movie with Rayquaza, where they're in this like basically futuristic city where robots are, you know, there for all your needs. Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially,
you're just relaxing robots feeding you grapes.
Essentially, what's that? Darn, that old TV show where they're in that like futuristic city.
WALL-E? No, WALL-E was a sad one.
WALL-E is a good one. I think WALL-E's also kind of similar to how life might be, but maybe people won't be as fat. But who knows? Maybe people will be. They'll get a lot fatter because they don't have to do anything. But I think there's gonna be a increase in travel. You know, people are gonna get to travel places. But then how does that work, right? Well, the ships would be flown by robots, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. Maintenance is probably the biggest thing. I think maintenance is going to be the biggest thing with the robotic revolution, because who's going to maintain the robots?
Themselves.
That would be crazy. If they can maintain themselves.
That's scary. Okay, another linger of questions. Are you scared of AGI?
Well, I'm scared in the sense that it might be the human extinction, but if it is, then it might just be like the natural progress of evolution, in the sense that, like, if we're trying to, you know, the human is such a curious creature, right? So if the point of the human species is to explore, then what's going to be the best to explore the universe is robots, right? Because they don't have to worry about life and, you know, having 100-year span. They can literally go to the ends of the universe on whatever, you know, nuclear battery we invent, and explore the edges of the known universe. And that would be like the next step of human evolution, would be like AGI is past human biology, right? We basically exceeded God in a sense, God life. We went past it and we've transcended. I mean, that's for like, I don't know if you really call us humans anymore. It'd be like monkey to human, right? As a human to a robot.
Kind of, yeah, like a higher being.
Yeah. Like they'll have different problems than us.
They're like, my oil change is delayed.
Yeah. Or like, my nuclear battery is gonna die. How are we gonna replace it?
Exactly.
Or like, my storage capacity is filling up. How am I gonna get more storage?
Yeah. So we talked about various things.
Mm-hmm.
Community, a bunch of things. Would you have kids in this world? Would you bring them?
Yes. I'd love to have kids. But definitely after I've finished my goal. And I mean, my goal is probably going to take my whole life. So after a certain point I feel like I can manage kids while pursuing my goal, that's when I would have kids. If that time never comes, then I'll probably try to figure out a way to make time for that, because I do believe in the importance of having kids, and also I just want to have a little mini me,
Exactly.
How about you? Even though it's such a crazy world, and I think it to myself all the time, but even then I would still want to have kids.
It is a crazy world. I always go back and forth about if I do really want some or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a constant battle in my mind. And that's why I tend to ask the guests. So maybe I get a different perspective.
That's very cool. Yeah, having a podcast and being able to talk with so many different people, I'm sure you've broadened your mind quite a bit.
I love this.
Yeah.
I always say I've just started really, but until the day I die, I will enjoy speaking with many great people.
Yeah, I agree. You're one of them.
Thanks, bro. So what's your goal? You mentioned this goal.
Well,
so this bigger picture.
I want to be able to, time travel.
Actually?
Yeah, well, that's like the 100-year goal. But first off, being able to record our thoughts would be nice, and being able to record our experiences, and then you can translate that into the time machine afterwards. But first and foremost, I think Neuralink is going to be the biggest, is the closest to achieving what I want right now. So I need to get there.
So this is a goal you've had since childhood?
It's a goal I've had. I mean, the concept of time travel is like alluring to everyone, right? So I think it's a goal I've had since I've been introduced to the concept of time travel, or even before. You're like, oh, I wish I didn't do that, or I wish I could have done that differently. And the Matrix is like, a lot of people are like, oh my God, the Matrix is such a bad world. But like, imagine a Matrix in which you could willingly enter and leave, at any time. And you could be in a simulated world where you could like do better in previous experiences, or use the simulation to do better in a future experience, right? That's kind of the level of tech I want to be helping create in the world. And that's kind of my goal.
It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a major flaw that I've always noticed, and people point out time travel, is that you could resist the point that your parents conceded you.
Well, right. So that's why I am, hoping to achieve a simulated time travel, in which you're not actually time traveling, but because it's simulated in a way where you're taking the neural activity of the people that were involved in that state, and you're like capturing that moment in time, and then you're able to actually go back and interact with them. Although they're not actually them, you can interact with a simulated version of them. And then if you can pair that with multiplayer, and you can bring them in anyways, or you can introduce new characters to past experiences, well, then you can go on past trips with your friends, with new friends, or, whatever. It's just, I think it's nice because there's always those times when you're missing, those moments of your childhood, or you want to just go back for like an hour. That is what I want.
I think this will definitely happen.
Yeah,
in the very near future.
I do believe, yeah. It's very, very achievable, and I want to be a part of the people that achieve it.
Wow. So you are going to join a team or create a team that tackles this problem.
Yeah, yeah. I think joining will be the first option. I don't know if I could create a team like that. That sounds like a challenge. I mean, yeah, it could be fun. It could be fun creating a team like that. Well, I'll need supporters though. I'll need supporters. I find finding people is probably the trickiest part. Like like you said, how do you find these people?
Yeah.
Like, how did you find me?
It was through LinkedIn. I think
Yeah.
we reached out somehow. We
It's
connected.
just some triggered something on my page or something like that just caught your eye, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
But I guess it's just about reaching out as well. Yeah.
Reaching out, yes.
Reaching out is very important. The people who take the initiative to reach out are the ones who succeed. And as you can see, this guy is a success story right here.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, I think finding like-minded people in this world is very hard.
Really, there's no solution.
No, there's definitely a solution.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's hard to do. What's the biggest thing you do for fun?
I don't know if I said it on the podcast earlier, but I am a big fan of gaming, and right now I've been streaming my games on Life of Kai Live, so you can see the Twitch if you want. But I do that as a hobby for fun on the side when I'm not doing engineering, and helps keep me engaged with my friends and family, and also lets me, R&R a little bit, relax and recreate.
What's your day-to-day life look like? If you can paint me an ideal day.
Yeah, the ideal day, I wake up at 6 a.m. and I study for 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, however long my focus can last, but minimum of 2 hours. And then I take a nice break with a workout, get back to editing, and so doing whatever Twitch stuff from like 10, 11 to 2, and then from like 3 to 6, I stream 6 to 10 family, friends. If I could like get a little bit in there, and my time isn't consistent, so that's my biggest challenge right now is keeping that consistency. But that's what an ideal day would look like.
So 6 a.m. to 8, 9, is that deep work?
Deep work, yeah, deep learning, doing the online course and or university material.
So you're back at school?
Yep. Unfortunately, I'm back at school. Unfortunately, I am back at school. But this next semester is looking pretty fun. I got a capstone going, so we're going to be working with a team to focus on this project for the next 8 months. And I'll be focusing on that solely on top of the online course, so then I'm not taking too much of a workload. Because, you really got to understand yourself and don't take too much on, because then you'll feel bad about not being able to do all of the things that you planned for yourself to do. And that's just a negative cycle. So try to refrain from taking on too much.
You mentioned understand yourself. How did you understand yourself?
You do it through iteration, and that's why fail fast is important, because failing fast means that you're at least doing it. And if you're at least doing it, then you're setting yourself up for opportunity to succeed.
You're trying this, it didn't work, then now I know I will never do it again, but at least you tried it very fast.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And you don't have to like not do it again. You can just tweak it slightly. And it's all about tweaking it slightly until it works. You could tweak it drastically if it like just failed completely, but yeah. Little tweaks here and there. And that's why habits and discipline and stuff like that is all about consistency and repetitively doing it until you can succeed.
Are your parents engineers too?
No, my parents are actually teachers. So my dad is an English teacher and my mom was a kindergarten teacher.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Family of teachers.
Yep. I do believe teaching is also a great way to learn. They say you're not good at something until you can teach it.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite sports team, and do you think this is a detriment to your success? Like being a fan of a sports team and maybe watching them, so maybe kind of wasting time. That ties back to procrastination.
Procrastination, wasting time. Well, I think you got to do what you enjoy, right? Like life is not all about succeeding, and like I said earlier, the pursuit of success in itself is going to bring you sorrow and despair. Whereas if you're able to pursue it without kind of keeping that expectation, and you're able to kind of you're hoping, but you're not expecting, and being able to do that is what was the question? I started ranting into
being able to do that is a life skill.
That is a life skill, because if you can hope and not expect, then those two are different things. Hoping is where you're like wishing that it happens, but expecting, you don't actually expect it to happen, and therefore if it doesn't happen, your reality isn't gapped by the expectation, and that gap is what causes happiness and sadness and anger and stuff like that. So if you're able to match that expectation, well, then you're able to kind of keep your emotions in check. Yeah.
But the question was, your sports team, do you follow sports?
No, I don't. But I can relate it to like gaming and anime, and I see a very big, resemblance. But like I said, if you enjoy it, you got to do what you enjoy, and it's important to make sure you balance time for both. Like if you do it too much, well then maybe you have to look at your schedule and see how much you can afford to spend following your favorite sports team, favorite actress, favorite singer, favorite anime, whatever you have.
What's that balance for you?
I find that the balance for me is when it's not affecting my other work. I find that if I'm doing it more than like 3 hours a day, then it's too much. So it's like 3 hours is a cap for me, and working in that 3 hour zone.
What's your first piece of advice for people trying to lead a team successfully?
I actually don't have too many success stories leading teams successfully, but that's because I didn't have good planning and communication at that time. So that's critical. It always will be, and I'll always come back to that, because if you don't efficiently communicate what you have, your ideas with your team, then you don't have a unified team. You have a bunch of individuals trying to do their own thing without a single goal in mind. And so unification is important. Unification and urgency will get things done. But for specific, things, it ends up being, team dependent. And so you always have to tackle your problem tailored to yourself. But the end of the be all is that the clear communication must happen for these other problems to reveal themselves. Because if you don't have this done, you won't get anywhere.
You've mentioned effective and clear communication.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on that? What does that look like?
Perfect. Great question. How that would look essentially is getting together with your group. So if you have like a team of 10, you want to have, layers into your organization so that not everyone is coming up with plans. You have people who are doing things, people who are setting up plans, people who are setting up timelines, and you make sure that the key managers of these things, so the critical players, are all involved and properly informed of everything that is required. And I mean, I can't really show an example because it's kind of a broad skill, but you got to break down your situation into what you need and what you need to get done, and get done the things that you need to get done stat, right? Like create a list, take the top 3 things and get those 3 things done in a day. And that's kind of how I prioritize my list as well, is I always break down however many things I have to do, top 3 things, those are my 3 things to do for the day. I get that done during like the 10 to 2 breakdown, but it's important to set aside time to do those to-do lists, because or else it's just going to keep stacking and you'll never get to it. So the top 3 is a pretty good strategy.
Is there any distinct particular individuals you look up to?
I would definitely say I look up to a lot of the big tech players like Elon and Zuckerberg and stuff like that. These self started people who started from their dorm room or wherever. It's kind of nice to see that it's possible. So that's kind of why I look up to them, but also like to see how much work they really put in. You can see like, where they came from and the amount of effort they put in. And it wasn't just luck. I mean, it was partially luck, but they really, really put in the work. And those people inspire me.
I noticed on your LinkedIn you said you're interested about finance too.
Yeah. I used to be a financial planner for a little bit before I went to Tesla.
What's your intuition about financial optimization?
Well, it's pretty simple actually. As long as you're investing 10 to 20% of your income into, the TFSAs, RSPs, and there's one more, but if you make sure you get your TFSAs and RSPs done, then you're going to be pretty set as long as you have them invested at 10% of your income. And honestly, it's not like you don't have to be so scared about stocks and so critical about them. You kind of just put that 10% into the market, either your ESPP or your what's the hedge fund called where it's
S&P
like
500?
S&P 500. Yeah, if you don't want to get into the nitty gritty, just go 80% of your things in S&P 500, 20% into your stocks of choice or S&P 500 again, or bonds or what have you, and you just go with that. Now, if you want to learn more about it, there is quite a bit. Like you can look at the trends and how they're gonna fall. You want to buy during bear and sell during bull. But these are things that you can learn all on your own on the internet, and that's where I learned how to do the stocks and stuff, and you can too.
What's your favorite stocks to invest in?
Right now I have Tesla stocks, so they have been very lucrative, and I appreciate that. A lot of the tech stocks are pretty good, but you just want to make sure you don't buy into something that is overpriced. And being able to do that is going to be a key in getting a lot of stocks. Sorry. All good.
What's your intuition about cryptocurrency?
Oh my God, I effed up with crypto. I should have gone into it when I saw that America was backing it, or when Elon was backing it, and I did not. And now it's pretty big, and I don't know if I can get into it. But I feel like it's gonna be the next like form of currency for the world if it can be accepted worldwide. And so it's pretty big. I haven't jumped onto the bandwagon yet, but I know I should have a year ago. What are your thoughts? Do you think that you got to get in now? You got to get in earlier? You got to get in later?
I think I bought Bitcoin at 300. Right now it's at like 850.
Oh man.
Just a little bit there, but I think that it's the next form of big currency.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you get into it, as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm planning to get into it very soon, but right now it's just all my funds are going straight to my business and editors for the podcast, so it's kind of don't have any. But I recommend you to get into it.
Yeah, Bitcoin. I just, I feel like there's a lot of fear involved in Bitcoin of like a crash, but like I can't see a crash happening now that America has backed it, right? So I feel like it's the safest time to invest right now. But at the same time, it's like that safety, is it a false sense of security, or can I actually trust that it won't fall?
The fact is that there's a finite amount of Bitcoins in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There will never be any more brought up, and that's the sense that more people are believing in it because you don't have to involve any government or any agency. Transferring it from one side of the world to the other is very cheap and instantaneous. And there's so many pros that I believe it will just keep going on and adopted by countries just eventually rapidly, and it feels like a no-brainer to me.
So then it's actually like a small price right now. Like it's about to get even bigger, basically.
That's what I believe. So yes, I put a couple thousand in it, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll lose it, maybe I'll win it in 2 years.
Exactly, that's kind of how you have to go with stocks, is that once you put it in, it's kind of gone. So if you can't afford to be at peace with your money being out of your pocket, even if it's 10 to 20%, then that's when I would say don't do stocks. But everyone should be able to afford 10 to 20% when you're, with this day and age where you can spend that much just on night out. You can afford to put it into stocks, I think.
Exactly. What challenges you?
Interesting question. What challenges me? Life. Life is challenging. I think everyone is always at an uphill battle with life, and your mind is always an uphill battle as well. It's always going to try and procrastinate and be lazy, and life is always going to throw something at you. So I think life in itself is already challenging enough. But beyond that, my challenge specifically is in the tech industry. And so going for these challenges where it's unsolved yet is what interests me, and solving something that hasn't been done yet. That's my challenge.
What motivates you?
My girlfriend. Yeah, my girlfriend motivates me. I would say that's a big motivator in life. Also my family and friends, and wanting to be as good as they believe I am, trying to be better for them.
And lastly, what do you think is the meaning of life?
This is a question that I think everyone ponders, and some ponder more, some ponder less, but everyone ponders this question, and I've pondered it for quite a long time. I've seen many great people talk about this, and they've come to different conclusions, but everyone comes to this one conclusion, and that it's family. Family is the meaning of life. The people around you, the people you choose to spend with, that's the meaning of life. What you do with your life, that's the meaning of life. It's up to you. It's what you believe in, and for me, family is the meaning of life.
Kai, it was fantastic speaking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me, and it was an absolute pleasure.
And I wish you all the best in your endeavors.
You as well, my friend. You as well.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.